Uncomfortable, stressful, overwhelming, chaotic. What if life wasn't meant to be like this? What if the chaos that often marks our lives was never the plan? What if there was a different way? That same language can often describe our spiritual journey too. Disjointed, frustrating, disconnected. For many of us, we surrendered our lives to Christ on the promise of a full life, but all we feel is a life full of stress, mess, and discontentment. That can't be right. That can't be all there is. For centuries, the people of God have been called apart from the world, to live differently, to live distinct from the world around them. What if it was in that distinction that the rhythm of our life was found? What if it was in the small, consistent practices of Jesus that we experienced the life he promised? What if we believed him when he called us out of death into life and showed us the way to live? What if we believed him when he said, "This is the way"?
Hey friends, we're in our fourth and final week of a series called This is the Way. We're looking at spiritual rhythms or disciplines or practices, whatever language you want to put around them. And we looked at a couple in particular. We've looked at Bible reading and prayer. We've looked at fasting. And today we're going to look at our last one. It's all about Sabbath. And I'm really excited about this. This has been a spiritual rhythm that has found its way into my life really when I started working here at Christ Community Church. But what I'll say is I think it's been revived or revitalized really in the last couple of years, and something that has been much more appreciated, much more life-giving to me. And so I'm excited to kind of give you guys a glimpse at what that might look like to practice Sabbath in your own life. I was listening to a podcast recently, and this pastor was talking about spiritual disciplines, spiritual rhythms, the role they play in the life of a believer. And he said something that I thought was really profound. He said, oftentimes we want the life that Jesus offers, but not the lifestyle that he shows us. And by that he means we want the peace and the hope and the joy that Jesus will say he gives us, right? In John 10:10, when Jesus says, "I've come that they would have life to the full," those are some of the things that he promises us. Love, joy, peace, patience, the whole fruits of the Spirit thing, right? We want that, but we don't always want to live a life that reflects the life of Jesus when he had those things. We don't want to do the hard work. We don't want to do the training that it takes to live the life that Jesus lived, to receive the life that he offers us. There can be this sense when it comes to our salvation where we can say, well, I prayed the sinner's prayer and I got baptized, and so I'm good. Now what? As if maybe that's like our moment of arrival, right? And again, as it relates to our salvation, it is, right? There's nothing you need to do to earn God's love or his favor or his mercy upon you. You say yes to Jesus, right? If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and you believe in your heart, right? Hey, you're saved, right? There's a beautiful invitation in that gospel that says you don't have to do anything to earn the life in Christ. And yet, do we want to just sort of be passive recipients of that, or do we want to live into now this full life that Jesus offers us? I think we'd all choose the latter. We want to experience the fruit of a life lived like Jesus. And so spiritual rhythms, these practices, these disciplines, they help us to reflect the kind of life that Jesus exemplified. The example that he showed us while here on earth. Things like love for those around him. Things like peace in the midst of trial and hardship. Things like joy under trial and hardship, right? Those kinds of things that Jesus showed us. We want to live a life that shows those things as well. When we do these things, when we practice these rhythms, when we practice these disciplines, we're inviting God's Spirit to meet us in them and to form us to be more like Christ. And so we don't read and fast and pray or Sabbath to please Jesus. We train in those rhythms to be made more like Jesus. And so today as we talk about Sabbath, I just want that to be in the back of your mind. This is not a thing you do to earn God's favor or earn God's love. Practicing Sabbath is a means by which you participate in the life that God has purchased for you in Jesus. So Sabbath. Maybe you've heard this term before. Maybe you think of it in sort of a holy context, right? So like it's Sundays from this time to this time, and that's my Sabbath day. Maybe you heard it talked about here at Christ Community Church, or maybe you've read about it, or maybe if you're a nerd like me, listen to podcasts all about it, right? So you maybe have a concept of that. Maybe some of you guys have heard that word in the past and you don't really know what that means or what that's supposed to mean for you. Maybe that's like an ancient practice. What am I supposed to do with it? Sabbath is all about rest, okay? But not like sit on the couch and binge watch something on Netflix while eating cheesy popcorn kind of rest, right? Don't get me wrong, time and a place for that. Not during Sabbath though, right? Sabbath is a different kind of rest. The way I like to think about Sabbath is that Sabbath is an invitation to embrace my limits while being reminded that God doesn't have them, okay? And so when I come into a day of rest, a day of Sabbath, it's a chance for me to just reflect, to stop and remember the majesty and the power of God, the sovereignty of God, the fact that he sees all things and works in all things, that he holds all things together. I want to be reminded of that when I Sabbath. And part of that is being reminded myself that I have limits, that I cannot possibly accomplish everything that I want to because I am limited. I am a creature, right? I have been made by God. And part of embracing my nature as a creature is to say, I am limited, right? I cannot jump over tall buildings in a single bound, right? And I also cannot possibly accomplish the entirety of my to-do list because there's just not enough hours in the day. I don't have enough energy, right? And so sometimes Sabbath is to say, God, I want to remember who you are and worship you for your limitlessness and the fact that you provide for me. And in doing so, I want to be reminded that I'm not you. I have limits. And part of being a human is to embrace those things and to trust, God, that you will fill in the gaps in my life. But there is so much in our world that invites us to reject the beauty of Sabbath. We move and operate so quickly, friends. We go about our days with such a pace and so many distractions that it's hard to stop and focus on the majesty of God. It's hard to embrace our limits. I mean, just think about our devices, right? Did you know the average person in your generation unlocks their phone 79 times a day? That's not 79 notifications, right? That's 79 times that you pull up your phone and unlock it to do something on your phone. The average person in Gen Z, that's the generation you're a part of, spends up to 9 hours or more on their phone on any given day. And hear me out. I'm not here to be the old guy who doesn't like technology. I'm literally preaching into a camera right now or reading off of an iPad and my phone is buzzing in my pocket, all right? There's technology all around me and I see the value in it. But here's the detriment. It is extra distracting sometimes. It is so distracting to us and it sucks us in to this pace of life, really just kind of distracted all the time. There's always notifications popping and phones buzzing and songs playing and videos going, right? Everything is grasping for our attention. And then you add social media into the mix, right? And so I start scrolling and double tapping and liking and sharing and doing all this stuff. And now all it's telling me is there's more that I need to do because so-and-so is on a vacation. Well, I got to take a vacation. Or somebody else went to Starbucks and got their Frappuccino. I need to go get mine now. I'm now keeping up with this pace that everyone else is modeling for me instead of choosing to slow down and recognize I can't do it all. And that's okay. Kind of a crazy story. When I went to college for my first couple years, I was in the city of Chicago. I lived downtown, and I worked about a mile or so from where I went to school, and I would walk there every day. Not every day, but every day I worked. And I would walk through the city, and I remember when I first got to the city, I remember just being kind of struck with how quickly everybody walks. And so at first I was like, wow, man, you're all fast. And then after a while, I kind of just got like adjusted to it. I didn't really think a whole lot about it. But then I would come home and I would hang out with she's not my wife, she's my girlfriend then, and we'd go to the store and I'd we'd get out of the car, we'd lock the door and we'd start walking to the store and I'd be like 15 paces in front of her and not even think about the fact that she's like hanging out behind me. She'd always say, why are you running? I was like, I'm not running, I'm walking. I'm walking at now this normal pace. What had happened is I moved from a city or a town that was a little slower into the city of Chicago where everybody's moving so fast. And within a matter of weeks, I had adjusted the rhythms of my life, the paces of my life to match those around me. And so when I came back home to a smaller town with a little slower pace, I'm now way out ahead of everybody. And so just kind of think about that for a second. You can go somewhere and match the physical pace of the world around you, right? They're moving fast, so now, well, you got to move fast. And there's physical implications of that. Just think about what that does to our minds and to our hearts, right? Are we elevated? Are we running through life at an unsustainable pace, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally And spiritually, when's the last time you just stopped to savor something? Like to really savor a meal or a conversation or a cup of coffee. When's the last time you just stopped to breathe, right? And enjoy the world around you? We are always wanting to go faster and farther and for longer distances, right? Sabbath is an invitation to embrace our limits. Because let's be real, friends, the pace we're living at is exhausting. The number of times that we go to bed just worn out and tired is crazy. We have now been accustomed to when people say, "Hey, how are you?" We answer with, "I'm busy." I am guilty of this, friends, all the time. When I hang out in the atrium on the weekends, people are asking, "How you doing?" And go, "Yeah, life's good, just really busy, really busy, really busy." And don't we just get tired of saying and living that way? I know I do. And so the beauty of the rhythm of Sabbath is to just say, I don't have to be busy all the time. I don't have to accomplish and accumulate more and more and more. I can just go, I'm invited to rest. I'm invited to rest, acknowledge my limits, and be reminded that God doesn't have them. The idea of Sabbath was first instructed in Genesis chapter 2. Right at the very beginning of our Bibles, we read about God creating the whole world. And then it says this in Genesis chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. It says, by the seventh day, God had finished the work that he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and he made it holy, because on it he rested from all of the work of creating that he had done. The God of the universe paused to reflect and to celebrate what he had done. Why don't we? Why don't we take time in our week to stop and think about all the things that God has accomplished through us and in us and around us? Well, because we've bought the lie that says you just can't stop or you'll get run over, right? You just got to keep going, got to keep moving, got to get more done. Got to touch my phone some more and scroll some more, got to go to work some more, got to squeeze an extra homework, got to squeeze an extra friendships, whatever. I got to always just fill and fill and fill. But the reality is, friends, there are 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, and you can't change that. God has given us the invitation to acknowledge the fact that we have capacities, we have limits, and it's okay to acknowledge them. We're not supposed to push those limits by consuming more coffee or ignoring sleep or whatever. We can rest. Jesus reinforced this rhythm, and he put it in the context of it being a gift. In the Gospel of Mark, it says this in Mark chapter 2, then he, that's Jesus, said to them, Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. What he's saying is that this idea of rest, this rest that we see God do in Genesis chapter 2, and that's reconfirmed here by Jesus, this idea of rest is a gift for you. It's a gift for you. The world tells us that we need to, again, accelerate or accumulate or get a bunch of stuff achieved. We got to do all of this stuff. And that's where you find the gifts, right? When more money or more stuff or more connections or more whatever. But that stuff becomes so overwhelming and we can't keep that pace up. I bet you that if I could hit all of you with truth serum right now, that you would all admit that at some point in the last week or two, you've just been overwhelmed and exhausted by life. And in fact, I wouldn't even have to hit you with truth serum because I talk to some of you guys on the weekends and that's what you tell me every single weekend. Life is hard and it's busy and it's full and I can't manage it all. And the invitation of Sabbath is from God to say, you don't have to. I will. What a gift, right? What a gift, friends. And so what does this look like? What does this look like? There are books and things you can listen to that will talk about Sabbath as a posture of the heart, right? And I think those are really valuable and really good, but those might be a little bit advanced, right? So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to do this. Pick a day. Pick a day, 24 hours, okay? It doesn't even have to be like, all in on a Friday or a Tuesday or whatever. You can split days like Friday afternoon into Saturday afternoon or whatever, right? Pick 24 hours that you set aside to rest, to reflect, to worship, to do things that bring you life and bring you joy, and put your phone away. In fact, I'll lower the standard just a little bit. Keep your phone away for half that time. I know for some of you guys, this might be a really significant task to put that thing away, and I know it would be for you because it is for me. My wife challenges me all the time. Josh, it's your day off. It's your Sabbath. Put your phone down. Why? Because I feel the need to be connected all the time. I want to know what's up. I got to stay in the know or else I'll get run over, right? I got to keep up with this pace. And God says, no. You can't handle it all, dude. But I can. So give it to me. So take a day. Take 24 hours. Don't do homework that day. Rest. Take a nap, right? Hang out with people who you love and who love you. Do something that brings you joy. You have a hobby? Do you want to go for a walk in the park? Do you want to, take your dog out? Something like that, right? Do something that brings you joy, whatever that might be. And do something that reminds you that God is limitless, both in his power to hold your life together and in the love that motivates him to do it for you. That's the gift of Sabbath. And when we practice that rhythm like Jesus did, going away, drowning out the noise, spending time with God and reflecting, when we practice that rhythm, when we practice the lifestyle of Jesus, we can more fully participate in the life that Jesus offers, Sabbath. It is an invitation to embrace, to acknowledge that we have limits and that God has none. Love you guys, and I'm excited for you to try this. If you have any questions or thoughts or concerns about it, talk to your pastor, talk to your point leader, come find me. I would love to encourage you in this because I think it's a really, really amazing rhythm and one that I want to continue to grow in and one that I hope you do as well. Have some great conversations tonight. I love you guys. Go this week and find some rest for you.